Another game where the Cleveland Guardians, quote unquote, didn't play like themselves. They did do something not a lot of teams have done, but they also did something they've done a lot of. We'll talk about your Cleveland Guardians and Groundhog's Day again on today's show.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome out into a wailing Wednesday edition of Locked On Guardians. I'm running around of alliterations to really spew this thing out, but it is frustrating. But you want to know what? It is still our favorite half hour of the day because nowhere else is talking about the Cleveland Guardians from the majors to the minors and the draft every day. But we are here at Locked On Guardians, proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team, your Cleveland Guardians every day. Whether you like it or not, we're talking Cleveland Guardians. Like I said, majors, minors, and the draft. We've got something for everybody. I am one of your two co-hosts, Justin Lada. I have been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007, providing prospect analysis, scouting reports, and much more on good prospects and plenty of bad prospects as well. And as well here 5 days a week with my friend, co-host, the person I talk to as much as my wife, if not longer, Jeff Ellis.
Yep, that is I. The font of positivity, which apparently is annoying people. I hate to break it to people. We don't put on airs. We are who we are on this show. I want to thank
you all. No fake opinions here.
Nope. I want to thank you all for joining us and making today your first listen every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. And for those who don't know me, if it's your first podcast, I have been here since the start of Locked On, one of the first people they brought on to talk about baseball 1,500 episodes ago. Before that, I was a national writer at Scott 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. I want to give a big shout out to all of our everydayers sticking with us in these dark times where even Jose Ramirez can't seem to get on base.
Yeah, our man Beans, I know his comments every day. He just leaves the word comment, but hey, it helps the algorithm. He's checking in. We know he's an everydayer, so we appreciate that. On today's show, we're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about some college hitter draft targets for the Guardians, some guys that are interested. We're going to go really deep there. We'll talk about trade and development. We'll talk about some development process things. We're going to talk about the Emmanuel Clase, the idea of trading him, and some other things about development and the trade targets. I know Jeff's got a trade idea he wants to pitch. And we're going to start off with wondering where the bottom is for the Cleveland Guardians. What's not at the bottom, though, is Monarch Money, which brings you this episode of Locked On Guardians today. They allow you to take control of your finances today with Monarch Money by using our code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Jeff, I don't know where the bottom is for this team. They did something that no team has.
I mean, it's now. Let's be honest. This is the bottom. It's hard to get much worse than being the worst.
Can it continue to get worse, though?
Yes. I mean, no, because I think it's going to be hard to match what they've done recently. At least, you have a few guys.
They had a worse record in June than the Rockies.
I know. But let's also be honest. They're not worse than the Rockies. Like, no matter how much you want to view this team, they had a worse record for 1 month. They're not worse than a team that struggled as much as the Rockies did. It's a different situation. And that's kind of the weirdness of baseball, right? Like, it's the only sport where you really see even a bad team have a okay month and a mediocre team look like the worst team in baseball. I'm not saying this is a good team, but I do solidly believe it's still a pretty mediocre team overall.
Yeah, mediocre right now looks great, though. Right now, I would take mediocre over anything. Right now, this is very bad. They did do something on Tuesday that teams have rarely ever done, where Gavin Williams didn't record out retiring a batter. The only outs he got in the second inning. This is after a 7-pitch first inning, by the way. He threw a wild pitch, and that got a runner out at home. And then he picked off 2 runners. So none of the outs in the second inning came from an actual batter. They all came of retiring runners, which I think I saw has only been done twice. That's twice now. Once was in 1985, and then this one. So pretty rare there. Gavin Williams had a bad second inning, gave a solo home run, had a lot of hard hit balls. He was okay. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. He was just not good, or it was just okay. The Guardians' offense was bad once again, and guess what? The Guardians have now committed an error in 11 straight games. I don't think when you score 2 runs or you go, what are they, 43 out of the last 47 innings or something, they haven't scored a run. and you make an error in 11 straight games, I'm pretty sure that's how you lose games. Like, Jeff, that's your favorite saying, right? Is good teams find a way to win, bad teams find a way to lose. And right now they are a bad team because they continue to find ways to embarrass themselves. They didn't make Matt Boyd work hard. He threw 88 pitches.
That's the bigger issue to me. That's the big, because errors are a bad stat. Errors are a bad stat. No,
11 straight games though.
They are a bad stat. They're one of the worst and most worthless stats in baseball because it's subjective. It's not an objective stat. So full on stop there. They're not good defensively, but errors are a bad stat. We can't really use errors outside of a fun bit here or there because it's a bad stat. Objective stats are bad. I could say like objectively, this isn't like two different people could call different things an error. That's why it's a bad stat. So like, again, they're playing a miserable defense, but like the
errors they've made are pretty blatant. Like the error today was pretty blatant. The Jonathan Rodriguez errors were bad.
I'm not saying they're good. It's been a bad, but it is interesting that like
are blatant.
There was it in DRS. There's something like middle of the pack still because the problem is right now that they are high and low. They make these bad plays and they make these great plays, and it's a weird balancing act through it.
All that tells me is that we have a long way to go in defensive metrics.
I think it also means like I was sitting here watching the game with you and you're like, that's an error, but then you hadn't seen all the play. And I'm not saying that to call you out, but we tend to be negative when things are going this poorly and just look at everything in a line of poop. We are looking at everything through poop covered glasses. So everything that goes wrong, you and I are both doing this. Like, it's like this tendency to be like, oh, it's a misplay. And then we rewatch like, oh no, it wasn't. It was just like, but we're used to everything right now is in poop colored glasses. That's the way it is. Everything we're looking at, unfortunately, because the offense is absolutely miserable. There's no positive spin you can put on the offense. I mean, even Jose is bad right now. So it's like there's no but that and then it's just the dumb little things every day, and all that mounts, and all of it makes us angry. And it makes it hard to watch this team. It makes it hard to discuss this team in a way because it's the antithesis of GUARDSBALL, right? It's like they're just crap.
I think we need to bury GUARDSBALL. I think we just gotta do like a Joe Boo chicken sacrifice of GUARDSBALL. Like, it has to just go. We have to get rid of that because it worked in 2022, it worked in 2024. Or maybe it's one of those weird San Francisco. I know we had a commenter saying this is the pathetic version of the Giants dynasty where they were good every other year.
Yeah.
But they won the World Series.
I almost did not pick them to make the postseason this year. Like I had concerns just because of that every other thing, and like some guys that were due for regression in the bullpen, and I didn't think it would be this bad.
No, I didn't foresee a stretch of them being this poor. I mean, Bo Naylor has not taken the step forward offensively we wanted.
I mean, Bo has been a disappointment. There's no way around it.
Yeah. You don't have any offense coming from, like, Kyle Manzardo has hit home runs, but that's really all he's done. Yeah. He didn't develop like we wanted.
Manzardo
and Jones Santana had one good month. Yeah. I mean, here's my take on Nolan Jones and Carlos Santana right now. They're doing just enough to keep their jobs and not be a problem, but they're not doing enough to elevate this team. Like, they're not the problem, but they're not really helping either. They're just good enough to exist, which is the problem with this team. They've got a lot of guys who just exist. Like, Angel Martinez has hot stretches, and then he makes errors. And
I think it's the black holes more than that, though. It's the never-ending fact you get no production. It's the big killer.
Yeah, it's your Rocchios, your Bo Naylors, your Austin Hedges. When Manzardo's not doing well, Schneemann can't hit left-handers. I know I saw some comments say, why isn't Schneemann and Manzardo playing? It's like, well, Schneemann can't hit lefties. Like, I know everybody is like, oh, I'm tired of platooning. But here's the thing. Daniel Schneemann does have good numbers against right-handers. He does not have good numbers against lefties. The problem is they don't have a better option to play against lefties.
So the problem, the lack of
depth. So it's like, just because they don't have, I mean, they do. The option's Juan Brito. We're going to talk about that in the second segment. But the option is Juan Brito. But on the current version of this 26-man roster, they don't have a good platoon partner for Daniel Schneemann. And he can't hit lefties. Just because they don't have the ideal partner doesn't mean he should play against lefties, because he can't do it. The data proves it. Same with Kyle Manzardo. Like, the data says he can't do it. He had those 3 home runs in April, and he hasn't done it since. He hasn't even hit right-handers that well, truthfully. It's a lot of strikeouts and all those things. And the gap between the majors and AAA. He's still trying to figure it out. And it's okay to be patient with guys like Manzardo. I'm okay with Manzardo struggling because you have to keep playing him. I wouldn't even mind playing him against lefties because he has to play, and you've got to figure out what he is. But that also constitutes being okay with struggling and not winning games, because that's what's going to happen. All right, we'll talk more about player development, some trades, whether or not the Guardians should consider a Class A trade. Jeff's got a trade idea he wants to pitch. We'll do that. We'll get to the draft later on today's show of Locked On Guardians. Well, we know the Cleveland Guardians are looking for the right supplies to get the job done. You can find the supplies you need for the site for the skilled traders. That is Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, we know that Supply House is the reliable way to order all of those products online. Their website's great. They've got resources, product info, and inventory of 200,000 parts, 400 plus top brands, and they deliver fast coast to coast. Those are all great benefits to have, even if you're doing projects around the house. Like, I know I had to call in an HVAC guy before summer started, and thank God I did, because it's been hot. And if I didn't do that, we'd really be struggling over here. And they had the parts right in their truck to fix what we needed in our AC system, and it's been great ever since. And the way you have those parts in your truck to make those changes and fixes, whether you're in the skilled trades, you're doing housework, that is ordering supplies from supplyhouse.com. You get perks like a dedicated phone line with their Trademaster program, so you can always talk to a real person. There's free shipping, discounts on every order. A lot of skilled trade professionals are taking advantage of this. You should too. Visit supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies. Just a few clicks. Use our promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you are subscribing on your audio apps and wherever you get podcasts to make sure you auto download so you never miss an episode, including things like today's Tuesday's show for the MLB Squad show. We talked about the All-Star game, Jeff's favorite topic, which you didn't join in on. Make sure you're hitting the bell on YouTube for reaction videos, whether it's post-game analysis, whether it's news, like Chase Lauder being called up, or whatever else goes on, and regular episodes coming into your feed as well. All right, let's talk more about development, because I want to hit on one thing, Jeff, about player development. I was just saying that I'm okay with Kyle Manzardo playing and struggling because that's what has to happen, right? These guys have to go through that to either A, get better, or B, prove that they're not a part of the team in the future. Like, that's just what it's got to come down to. And it's going to be the same thing for Chase DeLauder. Like, development is so weird. We know that even in the past, players had to develop in the majors, not just AAA. But more so now, you can't really rely on carrying what you're doing at AAA to the majors. Let's look at Chase Burns. So Chase Burns went out and pitched really well against the Yankees in his first start, right? Great stuff. Didn't make it out of the first inning against the Red Sox in his second start. And there were allegations of, like, he was tipping his pitches and there was an error in the game. That stuff's going to happen, whatever. But you and I both know from watching Chase Burns and studying the draft that this is a guy who probably doesn't have a third pitch right now. And he didn't need a third pitch in AAA. The fastball and slider were good enough to dominate AAA hitters, so the Reds called him up. Well, guess what? Now you're facing teams like the Red Sox and the Yankees who have really good hitters, and you need that third pitch. That's the hard thing to do. Like, Shane Bieber was told in the minors for years, "Hey, you got to develop a changeup," and he was like, "Why? I'm succeeding. I'm crushing hitters. Like, no one's touching me." Okay, and he hasn't exactly struggled in the majors until 2021 when he got hurt, or 2022, or I'm sorry, 2023 when things started to regress for him. But he needed that third pitch. He didn't have it, and he needed it. Like, you can get away with beating minor league players, whether it's pitchers or hitters, with average tools and average stuff. But in the majors, you need to have a complete, well-rounded profile. But the only way you're going to find that out, like, it's such a balance, right? Like, would it be better for a guy like Chase Burns to stay in AAA and throw a changeup and develop that? Or should he be in the majors and try to do it? It's hard to balance those things. And if you want Chase DeLauder up, if you want Juan Brito up, if you want CJ Kafis up, you have to be okay with those guys struggling when they come up. And they have to struggle, so they know how to adjust when they do struggle, or they prove that they can't and they're not part of the team. But you got to be okay with accepting that, okay, there's going to be struggles, and they got to finish off the development at the major league level because they're not going to finish it off at AAA.
And you don't really want to do the development at the major league level. I think that's, for just about anyone, it's going to be unsuccessful.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
It's mostly unsuccessful. It's not so much it's hard. It's that more often than not, it's a failure.
You have to finish your development at the major league level. That's where there is such a thing as developing at the major league level. I'm not saying you bring up a guy who is incomplete and let him just flail away, but you have to get these guys up here and they have to go through the struggles.
You see most of them, the majority of prospects, right?
Go back at least
once, and finish it off. Like they get up, they figure out some other things, they finish it off and come back. And then that's when they establish. I mean, I think Jose went down twice before he was established. It's like
he went down all 3 times. He went down at 14 and 15. He's have options.
And for as much as everyone screams about, prospects coming up, it's like Jack Caglione is arguably the worst hitter in baseball right now. Like, go look at the numbers. It's been a struggle for him. Chase Burns, as you said, got lit up. Nick Kurtz, was it Luis Severino's asking to be traded because he doesn't think anyone can pitch successfully in Sacramento's park. That is the only place Nick Kurtz has good data. He can't hit lefties and he can't hit on the road. He's only hitting in a minor league park right now.
Against
righties. So it's like, not to say that all 3 of those guys won't become potential all-stars down the road. They all could be, but I'm just saying that, like, it's not a quick fix just to get the prospects up more often than not. That being said, I still 100% believe it is well beyond time to make some moves, because when you got guys like Brito and Chase, you can look at those deep dive numbers, because everyone's an all-star in AAA, and see that there is a level.
Will Wilson.
Everyone.
Brian Rocchio was crushing the ball at AAA.
He had 8 home runs when he got sent down, right? Wasn't it? Was it 6 or 8?
He had a home run on his first at bat back in AAA when he got demoted.
It's a joke of a park. We got to be.
It's a joke of a league.
It is
a level.
But that park was poorly designed. It's a beautiful park, and it was beautiful, and that design was not designed well for development and for evaluation. So you're looking at those deeper dive stats, and I think both those two are ready, and those are players you can go to. But you also have to accept there's a chance that neither guy is going to be successful. Van Zardo, everyone was very excited for his debut a year ago, and then he struggled back down, and he's up, and he's been inconsistent this year, and that's what you have with young players. And that's what we have to see how it's going to develop and what's going to go. But it's almost where I wonder if they did Bo a disservice because they didn't have any other options. Like, is he a player that maybe at some point a year ago should have had a time in the minors? Is a bit of a reset, and
probably still should.
Yeah,
but they're just so focused on the defense is great, and the public metrics, internal. To be clear, a lot of teams have very different looking internal metrics for a lot of things, especially when it comes to defense. So what you see on the public side, metrically, defensively, may not match what they have internally. That's not to not let them off the hook, but the public metrics say that Bo Naylor is like a decent defensive catcher. He's not. He's not the second coming of Ivan Rodriguez or whatever, right? I can't remember. Was Pudge? Pudge was
Pudge was awesome. Pudge was fantastic.
Yeah. Bo
Multi-time
Naylor
Gold
is not
Glover.
the second. Yeah, he is not the second coming of Pudge Rodriguez or Johnny Bench for that matter defensively.
He's not even like Russell Martin at peak. Like, Russell Martin was a pretty good defensive catcher at peak.
He's just a decent defensive catcher. He's not great. He could frame, and he's got a strong arm, but he doesn't have the most accurate.
Not always the most accurate. Like, sometimes he nails guys, and sometimes he throws it into center field.
And the pop time is very inconsistent too. But yeah, you're right. They're so
inconsistent is the key word. But his nickname, Bo Inconsistent Naylor. Instead of we had the professor. His name is
oh God.
It said Bo Naylor's nickname is Inconsistent.
Yeah, Francisco Lindor used to have that on his glove was BC, which was be consistent, and I feel like the only person on his team that's consistent is Jose. Like, even he's struggling right now, but his defense was bad. That's the thing I think frustrates me the most, is that the defense is not playing well right now. You're giving up extra outs and extra runs. Like, hitting a baseball is hard, and you're going to be subject to things like BABIP and some bad luck. Like, that ball.
But they're not built for defense, weirdly, right? Like, they got rid of some of their plus defenders and added Nolan Jones and Lane Thomas, who are bad defenders. The second base situation. Right. When Arias took over at short, bad defense. They set themselves up to be a bad defending team.
And that's what's really frustrating, because they were good a year ago. But yeah, Carlos Santana, they improved defensively at first base, right? But that isn't helping them as much as you'd like to believe. And if you call up Juan Brito, guess what? Defense ain't getting any better because he's not a good defender, but he might be able to hit. So you're hoping he out hits his mistakes. All right, we still got to talk trades. I want to talk about the Class A thing. You got a trade you want to pitch, and we want to save a little bit of time to talk about more hitters. Probably the worst part of this class in 2025 is the college hitter group. We'll talk about all that next on today's Locked On Guardians. Stay tuned for more good news.
Monarch money. We all need to manage our money better. All of us do. But first, have you ever wished managing your money felt easier with Monarch money? It can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you on the driver's seat or in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch money is a budgeting app. It's more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending on place. So in addition to managing money, you are growing wealth. Monarch Money is here to help you save, basically. It's going to take everything and put it one place. Like, how nice is it? I've got like 4 or 5 credit cards just to look all in one place and be like, okay, this is my total spending this month. It's going to help you budget better. It's just naturally going to help you budget better. It is so easy to spend more than you have. Monarch Money is going to help you budget better. It's going to help you build wealth by budgeting better. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
To trade or not to trade. So the way things are going, I got to be honest with you. I don't think the Guardian, I don't even know who's going to be, like, who teams are going to be buyers. We have already talked about how this trade deadline is going to be garbage anyway, because there's so many teams. Like the Guardian, I mean, it has been since the second one, or the extra wild cards got added. The Guardians, if somehow they start catching the ball and they get a few weeks where things go their way offensively, if they go 5-2 over a 7-game stretch, they might find their way back in one of those last wild card spots. But anymore, I feel like this is 2023 all over again, and this team really can't be a buyer. The only way, we had one of our insiders suggest this. I thought it was interesting, but I also said, I think it was David who suggested this. And I don't think this trade exists on the market, Jeff. But he mentioned like the Ubaldo Jimenez trade, where in 2011 the Indians weren't really all that good, but they traded for Ubaldo Jimenez, and he was here for 2 years after that, and he was a big piece of the second half of 2013.
They knew Alex White was busted goods. They were shopping him in every trade at that time. They knew that his the numbers were not backed up, and they were.
Was that before or after his DUI?
I think it was before. It was before.
Okay,
but his numbers were good, but he were not, They knew he was talked about in so many trades at that time that it was same thing with Mejia. Mejia and White are the two guys that they were trying to trade more than any prospect.
They were hoping somebody was into Francisco Mejia. I've never seen a member of the organization be happy that a player was traded, and I did after the Francisco. I won't say who, but I saw one specific member of the organization who was very happy to see Francisco Mejia gone.
I've never heard as many negative things about a player in terms of attitude, choices, and decisions. Now he's
three players. There's 3 players that come to mind in the last decade.
Milton Bradley was the last one that had the issues. Now he has no Milton Bradley. He doesn't have any, but just like in terms of just constantly running into issues, it was But I will say his year in AA, that's when I got to spend the most time. He actually was on best behavior that year. That year was like there was no problems.
Yeah, so I heard some good stories about him too. But I mean, there was guys I heard worse things about, including one of the pitchers that got released last year, and
another pitcher
from years ago. TH. Yeah. So
TH.
Join the insiders group. We can tell you more about this because we can tell these stories in our insider chats. Anyway, I don't think it's a great idea for the Guardians to buy long term. Like the Cubs last year were not really in the playoff race, but they traded for Isaac Paredes and they flipped him to Houston to get Kyle Tucker this year. That would be great.
That was like trading a quarter for a car, right? Like Morale to Paredes to Tucker.
Yes.
Like it was,
you start the paperclip and you wind up with a Ferrari. Yeah. I wish that kind of trade existed for the Guardians this year. I don't believe it will. I don't know who's selling a piece even like Isaac Paredes where the Guardians can buy long term to take advantage of. Like, I don't know if that trade exists. So anymore, I think the Guardians, they have to just, sell what they have. I don't know if anybody wants Lane Thomas. I don't know if anybody wants Carlos Santana. I would be listening for offers on Emmanuel Clase. I would listen. I don't necessarily know he should be traded, but I would at least listen because that's going to be a very scarce market. Like to get anything in this trade market, teams are going to have to overpay.
But they
And
never overpay at the deadline. You get paid in the offseason. You don't get paid at the deadline.
Yeah.
No big prospects get traded at the deadline.
That's what I'm saying. I would just listen. I would listen.
I don't think you can with the way this bullpen is right now. Like
this team is not a contender. Like it's
well, I mean, you're not talking about again. You're not talking about this year. I mean, you got him for 4 more years. Like you really want to trade him for a guy because it's going to be a guy in A-ball. It's not going to be.
That's why I said I would listen. I'm not saying I want to try. I'm saying you have to trade him. I'm saying
I think it just destabilizes you too much. If you want to actually be good next year, you can't trade Class A because it's the bullpen right now is showing that it's not a stable situation. If you get rid of him, and then all of a sudden, guess what? You're not re-signing Cade Smith because he becomes your closer, and his value is going to shoot up.
And by the way, Cade Smith hasn't pitched in 8 days because of back spasm, which again I don't understand why they're just playing a man down in the bullpen if he can't pitch. It doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Unless they thought he was going to come back quickly, and now they're kind of stuck in a no man's land.
Yeah. So I do agree with what you're saying on Class A. Like I do think that you're right. Next year, if you want to be a good team, because here's the thing, a lot of people want to believe that well, if you trade Class A, you can get hitters. No, if you trade Emmanuel Clase on July 30th, you are not getting help this year. You might get a major leaguer, like you might get, Delino DeShields, who ironically came with Class A. You might get that kind of hitter, but you're not getting Andy Pages from the Dodgers. People need to stop this.
Jason Adams is, no matter what, your feelings on him are, he's an awesome reliever. He is older in Class A, but he has been more consistent than Class A. He netted 3 prospects in A-ball a year ago.
Right, not major leaguers. Yeah, you are not getting major league hitters. There is not a contending team out there that is going to say, okay, we'll give you, like, let's go to the Phillies, right? Jordan Romano has been terrible for the Phillies. They're not going to give you Bryson Stott or something for.
They're not even going to give you Justin Crawford because they need a replacement for, their own outfield is a mess.
Right, you're getting, if you're lucky, you'll get a AA prospect if you're lucky. It's all teams are doing.
The only potential situation that could pivot actually has to do with
if you take a lesser return and say you take a major league hitter who doesn't have a high upside but has a lower floor.
I will say there's one situation that kind of revolves around my idea for my trade. So
do it. So we can get to the college stuff real quick.
So one of those situations right now is I've been spending a lot of time on catcher because the position just, for lack of a better word, pisses me off. It is a situation that is terrible. And I really like Cooper Engel and I wish him well from his latest very painful injury. He was a foul ball off the sweets. Is that essentially what happened? Yeah. Right. So, we our hearts go out. Everyone out there, I'm sure, to Cooper Engel. He's been fantastic this year.
I have a lot of empathy because I could empathize with him right now.
I remember what happened to the catcher on my baseball team, and he was like crying, and none of us made fun of him. Like it was that moment, like, no, we get it, it's okay. So the catcher position is a disaster zone, and the one thing I can't get over is that the Dodgers have 12 pitchers on the disabled list. The Dodgers have Dalton Rushing.
Don't do this to me. Don't tempt me, Jeff. Please don't get my hopes up.
Here's my thought. Okay, so with Class A, they could use some pen help, but their pen is actually, it's got a lot of guys slapped together who are performing pretty well. And then you've got a lot of hurt starters who maybe could come back and be pen arms. What about Gavin Williams, who they're not going to be able to keep because he's a Boris client? Who, if you lose Gavin, hopefully Shane can come in this year and then maybe Cantillo or Messick in next year. Cantillo's been okay in the transition back. It's not great for you. Oh, I thought he had a few good starts in there. Statistically, some of the data was good.
He's only pitching like 3 or 4 innings.
So you're still bad. But again, it's not, the focus is hopefully you get Bieber or, you believe it. If you're a believer in Messick or Peterson, do you consider, like, does Gavin Williams get you Dalton Rushing? Does it get you Dalton Rushing and, like, an interesting flyer? I don't think you get Freeland. I don't know if Freeland's their type of guy, but they do need a middle infielder, weirdly enough here. Could you do for their sake? Is it something like Gavin Williams and Bo Naylor, who could then act as the backup that might be for rushing and a flyer?
I would take Dalton rushing for Gavin Williams.
Could you get
straight up
Dalton? Could you do Gavin Williams and Bo Naylor for Dalton rushing and Mike Sirota?
Stop getting my hopes up, Dick. Come on. You almost made me use a word I can't use on the show.
Sorry. I'm just saying, Guardians, please feel free to steal my idea. You don't have to credit me. Just go get it done.
No,
we'll be doing backflips.
We have so many commenters who are like, hold them accountable, and they need to listen to you guys or say this so they do this. I know my whole thing's been like they got pitching depth and you need to keep it because of this and that. And it's like, I do appreciate the pitching depth they've added, but Gavin Williams in particular, being the Boris guy, this is his third year, and with him not having reached that high ceiling, it's like he is still, someone who is tantalizing to other teams. He has value. He is the arm I'd be most willing to trade, honestly. And if you believe enough in your own ability to develop pitching, you shouldn't have to worry about that. And you did sign Tanner Bybee long-term, so you do have that to fall back on. And this might be a decent class for college pitching. So we didn't get to the draft today, but we will get to the draft tomorrow. We said we were going to talk college hitters today. We ran out of time. Sorry about that. We will get to it tomorrow. And eventually we'll get to college pitching because that actually might be...
It's the depth of the draft.
Yeah. Yes, it is actually in the Guardians' wheelhouse. So we're going to start with college hitting, and then eventually we'll get to college pitching. We'll get to high school hitting. We'll get to high school pitching. All that fun stuff. So tomorrow we will talk college. Maybe we'll talk college pitching tomorrow. Maybe we'll do that instead. We'll talk Guardians Cubs game 2 if they could stop making errors. And the good thing is, Jeff, the great thing is they're facing Shota Imanaga today, and that means you get to see 4 more David Fry at bats. And
David Fry just shouldn't be with this team right now. Let's just Fry and J-Rod just need DeLauder and Brito. It's nonsense.
J-Rod didn't even play on Tuesday against the lefty. They went with Nolan Jones, which actually
he had a hit. Like, again, it's like, I'm not saying Nolan Jones is an everydayer, but as your 4th outfielder, he's fine. Like, that's a perfect role for him. So, like, let's just go get Chase, go get Juan, let Fry figure it out.
We'll do Groundhog's Day and tomorrow. There will be no Chase DeLauder. There will be no Juan Brito, but there will be David Fry, and there will be Austin Hedges, and there will be Lane Thomas, and there will be Carlos Santana, and there will be us, and there will be you. And we're looking forward to that because it's our daily therapy. We're talking through this together. So come back tomorrow, spend time with us so we're not so sad, and I can stop yelling.
And then, gosh, this is terrible. I commented, doing comments a second ago. I think it was like Hazel, someone who said they've been listening for 3 years and it's their first ever comment. Comment again so I can get your name and actually give you a proper shout out tomorrow because
heck yeah,
I'm sorry. My brain is fried. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps, especially when they're losing. We appreciate all of you joining us, tuning in, commenting. Let me know what you think about my trade, and go Guardians, go.